Our first Divisional Cup finals of the season. It was basically a grand finals. I'm not just saying that the storylines were amazing. These were two of the best tournaments I've ever seen on EU and NA. We already have some new teams splitting up. We have MrSavage confirming he's looking for a trio, and we have Reet going back to controller. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before recapping how the finals went, we got to talk about some big changes for some of the big teams. So MrSavage confirming he is no longer playing with Andy and Mappy. He is looking for a new trio. And those of you guys who are maybe hoping that we see the return of Savage and Mongrel, we even have their coach BloodX talking to Faxi on his stream about how he wants to see them play together. He doesn't think they're going to have fun playing apart and trying to get them to go back together. So gives us a bit more of an information and idea of what's going on here between Savage and Mongrel. I don't know why BloodX would want them to play together, but they decided it wasn't best for them. I guess we'll see. Maybe after Savage's experience trying to play without Mongrel and trying to find new teammates, maybe hasn't gone as smoothly as what he thought. It might make him appreciate playing with Mongrel more, and maybe Mongrel, being locked in more, wants to play with him. We still don't know exactly why they're not playing together. It's always just been like personal reasons, things going on behind the scenes. Mongrel's not playing enough, but now Mongrel might come back, start grinding. Again, Prism Casper haven't said anything about whether they're dropping Mongrel or not playing together or splitting. Prism and Casper have played together for years now. Like, they went to globals as a duo together, so I don't really expect to see something like, Prism, Mongrel, and MrSavage. I feel like it's gonna have to be either Savage and Mongrel play together and find a third, or Mongrel plays at Prism and Casper. I could be wrong. Maybe they do take the chance to split. I don't know, but now that I know BloodX wants them to join back together again, I'm actually starting to believe it might be possible. Now, the other big news we have is Reet has already decided he is going back to controller after one Divisional Cup finals on mouse and keyboard that didn't go too well. Not only is he going back to controller, he's looking for a new trio. So Shadow and Virgo are no longer playing with Reet. We have King Reet back on roller. All right, let's talk about the Divisional 1 Cup finals. This genuinely felt like an FNCS Grand Finals. If you can hear my voice, it's a little bit cooked. I casted both finals today. You guys were showing up big in the YouTube stream and the Twitch stream. I love you guys. Thank you so much. The YouTube streams have honestly been amazing. We peaked at over 7,000 viewers. We had 16,000 on Twitch. It genuinely felt like a Grand Finals, and it's because we had none other than Cold, Peterbot, and Poyo win it all on 467 points. Now, if you look at the leaderboard right now, Aussie, we have Peterbot beating Clicks by over 100 points. That's not exciting. It genuinely was so exciting. If you haven't watched the streams, you probably think I'm just amping up, I'm just overhyping it. It came right down to the wire. So let's run through it. So Cold, Peterbot, Poyo in first on 467. Clicks, Batman, Boogie, Yomzo in second on 355. Ages, Ritual, and Acorn on 304. Muzz, Curly Rise 282, and Rapid, Yapko, Bolts 268. An incredibly stacked top 5, but it really did feel like a 3-horse race for pretty much the whole tournament. Pete, Clicks, and Acorn's team. Now, you're seeing Acorn, yes, in third place, which might be like, Acorn's terrible. Pete smashed it like I said they would. They managed to come third while contested every single game. They went toe-to-toe with Vidil's team at Mars Meadows, and they walked out of the spawn fight every single game. All 4 games they made it out. They absolutely dominated. They had a first, 6th, 8th, and first. So people saying that this team has double IGL, they don't have the firepower, they're going to need Peterbot. They got 2 double-digit Elim wins and a 10 Elim 8th, but they were contested at Mars Meadows. Now, game number 6, Acorn made one of the most Peterbot-style plays I've ever seen. Acorn's team left contested Mars Meadows to drop on Peterbot in game 6 at Crime City. Now, this is a crazy play for many reasons. So firstly, Crime City is one of the hardest drop spots to try to take down a team at the drop spot. They can just pull off, they can swerve, they can get their loot, they can go back in the black market. It's very, very hard to take them down. And that is what happened. Pete's team swerved off, got their loot. They ended up fighting Acorn inside the vault. They beat them. Again, we had Ritual escape as a solo, make it away, try to play the game out, but they couldn't do it as a duo without Age's card, and they ended up going down. But I respect the fact that they went for the play. I think Peterbot, of all people, definitely understands what they went for. It was in game 5 when Peterbot found Acorn's team going for one of the new armored trucks and managed to wipe their entire trio. So at this point, they had nothing to lose. If they wanted to win the Cash Cup, they had to go for Peterbot, and that's exactly what they did. But Clicks, Batman, Boogie, and Yomzo were still in the equation at this point. We had Acorn and Peterbot fighting in top 3, but Clicks went into game 6 only like 20 or 30 points behind Peterbot. Like a very, very doable margin, but it's because Peterbot's team is Peterbot. They ended up dropping an 11 Elim second in, sorry, they ended up being an 18 Elim 5th. I almost read their first game. An 18 elimination 5th place. in their last game of the tournament. So the point margin doesn't look like it was close, but it's because they dropped almost 20 elims despite being contested by the other FNCS winning team. I don't really know what to call them because of all the switch ups that happened. You know, their ex-teammate who didn't win FNCS, and then the 2 FNCS winners. So insane performance. It was ridiculous, but surely this was our last rotate as a solo. It's a congested layer. There's people everywhere. Pete spots someone running past him, gets distracted. Pete gets distracted. It's a full metal base, but he takes down Ozone, gets another siphon. He's still going. 8 teams, 19 players. Pete is clutching up so many points right now. This kid is actually inhuman. He did it at LAN. I don't know how, but he fucking did it. Oh my god. Finds shots onto Acorn, Ritual, and Ages. Gets them griefed on the rotate. Picks up another one. That's 12 kills. Can he survive for the finish? Of course he can, because no one can stop him. 6 teams, 13 players. He's still clutching. Gets another one. Gets 2. What is happening? We have 14 kills, 14 eliminations, 4 teams, 8 players. What is happening? He's been a solo for like 3 zones. Cold literally crashed. We didn't even have shield for half of this. Surely this is going to be the end of Peterbot. We find 2 big pots. It's the only shield we've had this entire endgame. Rapid on the other side of the wall. Pete gets sprayed. Rapid almost about to go down. The third party comes in, clicks, plays spoiler. It takes an entire trio to stop Peterbot. Pete's team did put on a clinic. The Crime City drop is just so unbelievably strong, but it showed a lot of people Pete can be beat. Again, I know the leaderboard doesn't show it too much, but if we get a situation where Acorn's team is uncontested at Mars Meadows, they've really showed why they're fighting Cooper for this drop spot. A lot of people are now saying Cooper should leave. Cooper played terrible. Cooper's team ended up getting 13th overall. The 2 times they got the drop spot with a decent amount of loot, because the teams didn't actually take each other down every game. Sometimes, you know, Cooper's team would make it off spawn. They would run away with less of the loot and try and bring the game back. But the 2 games, they actually got the vault. They got the loot. They got a 5 elim second, and then last game when Acorn didn't drop on him, they got a 10 elim fourth. So I understand why Cooper, Vidil, and Sphinx are trying to hold down this drop spot, because when they have it, they look insane. But Acorn, Ritual, and Ages, if there was any concern they didn't have enough firepower, double IGL trio, it is out the window after this tournament. They were playing really well. Now, we've got to give some big credit to Clicks, Batman, Booger, and Iomzu here. They played amazing. They finished in second on 355, which doesn't, again, sound like that much when you compare it to 467, but their placements were insane. 5 elim 8th, 9 elim win, 6 elim win, 7 elim second, a 3 elim 11th, and a 2 elim 10th. So unfortunately, their last 2 games being their worst games, they almost got 3 wins in a row, but with the story with Peterbot, it's always elims. Peterbot's team was absurdly consistent with placement as well. 4.67 average placement and an average elims of 12. In a set lobby finals, they averaged almost 78 points a game, when a win is worth 65. Just ridiculous margins right now. Pete really is showing again that this is going to be the dominant season, but we thought that last season and things went different in grand finals, so you never truly know. But a lot of people are now saying Pete's in for another flawless season of Cash Cups. Now, the big question that's always looming after all of these tournaments, what does this mean for signing the papers? Are Acorn, Ages, and Ritual gonna sign the papers? Are they gonna disband their trios? You know, Ages, Ritual, and Acorn are looking so good now. They're gonna want to play together. I still don't think anything's gonna happen. I truly think at this point, we're going to play out the storyline with both teams playing the next 2 seasons together, you know, winning or coming second FNCS, winning the Cash Cups, and then they both go back together for LAN. That's truly how I see this playing out, even with Acorn's new team looking incredibly strong. And I don't know if I'm mad about that. Like, I don't know how to feel about this. Such a weird storyline, but that looks how it's going to go. Peterbot and Acorn aren't even talking about it anymore, but we've got Acorn dropping on Peterbot in 6th. In game 6, we have Peterbot fighting Acorn in game 5. They're not doing anything to make up for it and be friends, but they're also not being openly toxic towards each other. Peterbot and Ritual are doing tokens every night in the same calls, just as best friends again. It's such a weird situation, but I don't know if anything's going to change. I'm guessing maybe as we get closer to the deadline, we might see them start talking about it a bit more right now, but if you were just watching streams and following social media, you'd kind of forget this was even going on. Now, moving on over to EU, it was honestly incredibly exciting as well. Both regions absolutely delivered. We had a closer leaderboard and it came right down to game 6. We had Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache win on 389. One of the first times we've seen this team, I think maybe the first time we've seen them uncontested at Seaport City, and they showed the world what they can do with it. 389 points, 6 matches, winning 2 of them, and one of them being in the very last game. They got a 12 elim win in game 6 to overtake Veno. It was such a fun game to watch. Vico, Veno, Flixie had been first for pretty much the entire tournament. They even dropped the medallion they get from their POI on spawn so that Queasy would not know where he was on the map, because Veno knew, again, he's played with Queasy. If they know where he's on the map, they're going to try pushing them, or they're going to try and take them down early if they can, because Veno was in the lead. But Queasy's team played high ground, which we know Queasy loves to do. They ended up winning the game. Veno's team got a 6 elim 10th, and that was enough for them to drop out of the lead. They did get a 17 elim 6th in their second last game. Pete and Veno's teams are so comparable right now with their playstyle and the elims they put up. Their first few games, Veno's team was a little bit quiet, nowhere near the W King that Peterbot was doing. And in that second last game, we started to see a little glimpse of what Veno's team can do when they start rolling. Now, I will say it was an interesting finals because there was just so much going on around Veno's drop spot. We had 3 or 4 teams contesting towards their north. We had 2 teams contesting their south. It was all a bit messy, and I think that did play into them not really knowing how to play their early game for the elims they normally would. We had Ping, Wox, and Malabuka come in third on 305. I think they would have been further up the leaderboard. Their last game was a 6 elim 11th, one of their worst games, and it came off the back of Malabuka trying to pull off a kind of lurk play onto Marius for the armored escort that they completely botched, which almost ruined their game. And Marius's team got the jump on them, found them. They ended up coming in 4th, though. They did still stay ahead of Marius's team. A phenomenal performance from them. And then we had Seti, Hari, and Cammy in 5th. So now no longer is Queasy having to go up against the Frenchies, and same with Seti. Now, it was interesting at the start of the tournament, Seti's team ended up getting contested at Brutal Boxcars for the first 2 games. This genuinely made me sad. I don't know how we got to the point where Seti, Hari, and Cammy can't get Brutal Boxcars uncontested. It's like a B or C tier drop. Like, Seti, Hari, and Cammy should ideally be holding that drop spot down. But again, they went down in those 2 games, but it wasn't a clean win for the other team. They ended up leaving the drop spot, and once they left, Cammy's team went on to get a 7 elim 6th, 6 elim 8th, 5 elim 7th, and a 7 elim 3rd. So they came top 5 essentially with only 4 games played, but it continues this storyline for Cammy. Yes, they are a phenomenal team when uncontested, but now they've built up this reputation of being a team that isn't good at fighting. They're gonna keep getting dropped on. We'll see if they can hold this reputation and see if they can maybe do something, start putting up some numbers against a team dropping on them. But I hope, for the sake of the storylines, Cammy's team can finally keep Brutal Boxcars uncontested. Now, as far as which teams underperformed, who's gonna split, we're gonna have to wait to see. There was some underperformances on both EU and NA, but a lot of it was just due to being contested off spawn. I dropped Sky and Scroll. We had Misha's new team. They were contested. They tried to switch drops halfway through. Trulex, Tayson, and Chicho were uncontested at Kappa Factory. They got a 5 elim 4th, but I'm not entirely sure what was going on with their tournaments. Chap, Shark, and Kiddo were locked up in whatever was going on at Shiny Shafts. It was like triple and quadruple contested. We had Pink, Nebs, and Sato, but again, they're not even a real trio. We're waiting for Kiro to qualify. I will say Pix, Dam, and Damus was a team that I had picked to do extremely well, who didn't do terrible, but 12th place, uncontested pump power. I did want to see them do a little bit better. Thomas HD, their first time playing with Frisk and Panzer. They had some weird situations going on around them with like Teeny's team, and they were kind of con, but not. So again, we'll give them potentially a bit of a pass. Over on NA, we had Kanada's team come in 10th. I had him picked for top 5, but 10th is not terrible by any means. We had Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx in 13th, but again, they're contesting right now at Mars Meadows. We had Quanti, Edgy, and Chance in 19th. We had Liam, Oliver OG, and Larson in 24th, locked into a kind of off-spawn, but not off-spawn fight with Bucky that put them in 29th. Again, it was an interesting tournament across the board. Outside of Ree's team, I haven't seen too many on the timeline who have split up over these performances or anything like that. If they do over the next few days, I'll let you guys know in a video.